Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to another bonus episode where today I'm going to be talking with ASICS Pro runner Makenna Myler. She just recently competed in the McKirdy Micro Marathon over in New York, and I wanted to talk to her all about it because she had a fantastic result. I've known Makenna for a little while now. I've been following her progress, and I actually wasn't sure if this was her debut marathon or not. She told me that it was actually her second marathon, but what a second marathon it was. So let's not waste any more time. Let's bring her in. Makenna, how are you? And congratulations on the run.
Thank you. Feels good. Feels good to get that out of the way, you know?
All right. I did not know that you were going to be competing in the micro marathon over the weekend. Was this something that was always on your calendar?
No, I didn't know I was competing either. So I actually was scheduled for Twin Cities.
Okay.
We saw that got canceled. And immediately James McKirdy messaged me and was like, hey, you have a spot in my race. And I don't know, I kind of viewed all the other options. And then I was like, okay, I think this makes the most sense. And so kind of had to retaper, adjust for that because it was 2 weeks after.
Oh, okay. Well, I have some questions about the mechanics of that. But first, let's step back a little bit for those people who might be listening that don't know what the McKirdy Micro Marathon is. Can you give us a quick rundown of what that event is? Because it's not something that regular people could sign up for.
Right. So you have to run a qualifying time to be able to get into the race, which I actually don't know what the standards were. Do you know the standards off the top of your head?
No, but I know it was basically for people chasing that OTQ on the men's and the women's side. So it had to be, it's faster than I can bother remembering because it's not useful to me for my personal knowledge. You know what I mean? It was that fast.
Right, but you didn't have to have ran at OTQ yet. It was purposefully there, so you could run the OTQ. So if you were kind of a hopeful in that area, you could go to this race. And so they just set it up. Do you want me to go into that yet?
Yeah, let's talk about that. So, the setup for the race and how it was particularly tailored for those fast time chasers, because it was a looped course, right?
Yes, it was basically the equivalent of a track. Because you have 9 laps, that it's 2.9 miles, and towards the end of that loop, they had our tables with bottled nutrition. So you were getting nutrition about every 2.9, a little under miles.
How did you feel about running a looped course?
I actually really like that. I like the track. I like consistency. I like feedback. I mean, now in hindsight, there are pros and cons to it that I am understanding, right? My hip started hurting by the end because I was it's a little slanted in certain parts, and I had other people telling me the same thing, okay, things will kind of obviously start to catch up with you if you're running a looped course. But it was amazing because it was flat for the most part, really imperceptible. This was something I was reflecting on because it didn't have that big crowd feeling like a normal marathon would have, but because it was looped, I was looking for those same voices every time around, and those voices mattered so much. Looking forward to those spots, but yeah.
Speaking of those voices, so I didn't know you were running this event, and then I was trying to find some way to kind of watch any sort of coverage of it at all, and then I found my friend Matt Chittum was working one of the aid station tables, and he was live streaming footage of the race, and then I'm like, wait a minute. I know that runner. Who is that? That's Makenna. And so it just seemed like a very small event, just in a park. But then I think would have been really very strange to see if you were just a regular park walker on that weekend morning.
Which they totally were.
Why are there all these fast people here in my park? Did you get some weird looks from people?
Oh yeah, no, I mean not weird looks. Of course, everyone is so encouraging, but yeah, they're wait, whoa, there's a lot of people here at 6 a.m. in the morning.
I think it worked out really well for you then. I mean, looking in hindsight, looking at your result, you hit that OTQ time, but the alternative would have been if you were running Twin Cities, that was, they canceled it because it was hot. So that would have been tough conditions to run a fast time.
Yeah, I was like pretty confident in the like patience and like heat strategies that I
Mhm.
had. But yeah, you're right. Like when they canceled it, there was definitely a part of me that was like, "Oh, I'm kind of glad I didn't have to like suffer through that." So that
Okay.
that worked out well because the McKirdy was like amazing temperature. It was perfect for marathon running.
Yeah, I mean, it's like what you want to see. It's like all the spectators look freezing cold, and then the runners look like they're just doing fine. Like, so
Yeah.
was it great weather? What was the wind like?
Yeah, the wind was barely there. I mean, like at moments, when you're by yourself or like you're like, please just like not be there at all. But no, it wasn't bad at all. And then I think it was like 6 mile an hour gusts, so
Oh,
nothing
okay.
like consistent at all. And then the temperature was like 48,
Okay.
maybe rose to 52, 53. So it wasn't even like you needed gloves or anything, but it was still like cold, which was great. Perfect
All
for
right.
marathons.
Awesome. So can you walk us through it? Give us a little bit of a race recap, however it makes sense to kind of like chop it up and walk us through like some phases of the race and kind of how you were feeling along certain points.
Sure. So my race, like specifically as
Yeah.
well. Okay. Yeah. So I mean, we were all warming up in the dark. Everyone kind of like showed up to this like parking lot that it really, honestly, I got like a lot of like cross country vibes, just like the way you showed up to the starting line, like you're not busing anywhere. Everyone had their own cars. At this park, and we were all like over at the starting line waiting. The starting time was actually very flexible, which he had like made very clear because they wanted it to be light enough for us to be able to see. So the night before they pushed it from 6:30 to 6:40, and then I think we didn't really end up. I wasn't looking at my watch, but I don't think we ended up starting until like 6:50. And it started with like pace groups. So there was like a pacer and everyone would be behind their pacer. And the men were off of the gun time, and then the women were off chip time. And the first pacer group for the women was like in 26:50, and they just had Callie Thackeray going with them. So she took off immediately. Like, I did not see her at all during the race. And then me and Savannah Berry went with the 2:29:50 group, or no, 2:29:30, and I really wanted to like go out at that pace because I had recently moved up to Flagstaff, and this was like my first time really living at high altitude. If you don't count like Provo as high altitude because it's kind of like medium, and so I wasn't quite sure like how my paces would truly translate to sea level, and so I was kind of like pushing to see like I think I can like do that pace. And we went out with, his name is Pardon. He was our pacer. He was perfect. He did like exactly what we wanted. We kind of like eased into it. And there's like a tangent line that went around that was like apparently exactly 2.9. And so I went with them. I want to say it was like the third lap. I didn't stay very long with them. Where I really got nervous because, like I told you with the New York Marathon, I bonked without like getting nutrition. And so I kind of just had it in my mind to be like as patient as possible until mile 20 and to just like not feel uncomfortable. And so I wanted to be able to really get in my nutrition and not like, yeah, just be in any sort of danger. And so I backed off. Savannah, I think, kept going with him. And I actually thought that they were picking it up. I think there's something wrong with my GPS.
Okay.
I know. Because I was like looking at my splits and it was like, I thought I was still on pace for 29:30 and that they were picking it up.
Oh, okay.
And apparently, I think it was just my GPS was a little bit off.
So then it was just the three of you for the first kind of 3 laps. Is that right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. What were you taking in your bottles this time? Because you told me a little bit before we recorded about how you had some nutrition problems in New York. What did you do differently bottle wise or bottle/gels? Can you tell me about that?
I went more with a gel approach. So I did never second. And with my gels, and then I used Tailwind. I've been testing that out and just hasn't like really bugged me. And so I would kind of alternate between just like gel and water and then like Tailwind. And that was, yeah, that's fun. It's so hard. Like you're just like, I do not want to eat this. Like, I don't know what it is. And, but I got it down. I usually don't like eat the whole thing.
Okay.
I mean, I try to eat the whole thing for at least the first two, and then maybe like the last one or two, I'm kind of like doing like half.
Okay.
But
Going
that's
through the motions, you're like, I'll at
Yeah.
least try to get half of it down or something.
totally.
Okay. Maybe I'll try that next time, because my last couple of races, like I just have not been wanting to eat the gels, and that's why I'm switching up going forward. I'm like, I don't want to eat this. I'm like angry at it, like,
Yeah.
ugh.
Yeah, totally.
Maybe I'll just try doing a half and then see if I could see what I can get.
Well, I think the other key is I am like more keen to eat them when I'm more hydrated. I'm like
Oh,
better
really?
hydrated. Mhm.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
See, well, if I get hot, I don't feel like eating them. So
Yeah.
like that's like the big thing for me. For some reason, like the hotter I get, the less I'm just like my stomach just is like, this is all everything is gross. I don't want
Yeah,
anything.
which would make sense that you need more water with it.
Oh, there you go. There you go. There you go. So then you're at the third lap. You're kind of separating from the pacer and Savannah. What's going through your head at that point? Like, what are you changing the plan? Like, tell me a little bit about what the mental space at that point.
You know what? So my mental space was like, I was a little bit annoyed at like the spectators because because I feel like everyone was like, stay there, like stay with them, which is like totally reasonable for them to be like saying. You're like cheering someone on and really trying to lift their spirits. But like, I was trying to convey that like I'm doing what I want to be doing. Like, I'm not like dying and like dropping off. Like I'm trying to just like race really smart. And so, I mean, yeah, I just felt really confident, I guess, about like what was going through my head. And I didn't feel like, I mean, like afterwards now, like in hindsight, I'm like, I should have been like with someone. I think that would have helped a ton, especially for like the last like 2 or 3 laps. But yeah, I don't know. It's just kind of easy to like nail in that like really comfortable threshold pace. I was thinking a lot about, there was like a lot of dads with kids on the course.
Okay.
And I was like, there are other moms in this race. Like,
Yeah. Okay.
Like that was like inspiring me. Which is like a side note back to the Twin Cities. I had like taken my family with me because I'm still breastfeeding, and we kind of made this decision that I would try and like pump as much as possible to be able to like leave Wakefield and the family home, because it was really, really difficult traveling with kids. And so I would just make it like a super quick in and out business trip. And so this was like my first time away from my kids in a really long time. I mean, not a long time with Wakefield. He's only been alive for 6 months, but like, it was like, it's still weird to leave them. And so anyway, just like seeing all the kids on the course, and then like someone had like a face of a baby for another mom, that was like, my heart.
Yeah.
I was feeling really inspired out there on the course.
That's
like,
super cool.
Yeah.
I saw a lot of giant baby heads when I ran Chicago. And I was like, this is a lot of fun. I like this. Like, I also saw a lot of big dog heads and cat heads. And I'm like, all of this, I love it. Show me the babies. Show me the pets. I want to see all of it. This is really fun distraction. I really enjoyed that too.
That's
So you had your second child a little while ago. 6 months, is that?
Yeah.
What you said?
Yeah.
And you're still nursing?
Yeah, and I'm still nursing.
Well, that's great. I remember how hard that was for my wife when she was traveling and she was nursing. Like, we had to figure out, like, because she traveled for work quite a bit at the time. And I was like, I don't know how we're going to figure this out. And I remember we were just looking for all sorts of, like, services and products of, like, how she can nurse and, like, send it on dry ice to me back home and stuff like that. And that was a while ago. And hopefully, like, the landscape has improved to make that kind of stuff easier.
Oh, I know. I honestly didn't even look into it. I texted Kellen Taylor to be like, how are you doing this? Like, how are you like bumping when you leave your kids? And she had like a whole little like plan that she told me about. But I just was like, okay, I can't bring like cooler with me. I was just was
Right.
like, I'm
Right.
just gonna like pump and dump it. But it is so hard. It's hard to navigate that.
Yeah. I mean, and it's amazing that you're coming back and running so well, so quickly. Um, and I just think that's really amazing.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean I've been doing a lot of thinking about that, and it's there's just like a lot that goes into it's not just like um there's just like a lot of intentionality, you know what I mean? I think people are surprised. I mean, you look at Kellen Taylor, I keep mentioning her because I really look up to her and I think she's so awesome and she's doing the kind of really similar thing I'm doing. And it's like we just are living our lives like very intentionally toward these goals. We're not just like up and like trying to get back to like the fitness that we were at before or better. Whereas like people are used to the standard of women like not really running during their pregnancies and then like trying to run again. And so I think it's just like going to be more commonplace, hopefully, that it's like you can get, up to a pretty high standard pretty quickly if you're intentional and make the effort.
Yeah. I hope it's not a situation where like you felt like you had to rush to come back or anything like that. And I'm not trying to like kind of like turn into heroes the women who are like
Yeah.
really rushing their returns and anything like
Right.
that. But so I'm
Totally.
trying to find the right words to be supportive of you and your return without like accidentally or unintentionally emphasizing kind of like the wrong things here. But
Yeah.
just wishing you the most support that I
Oh,
can
you are
send.
so sweet to say that. But seriously, like that's why I'm like trying to emphasize that it's like I have a lot of support. Like it's not that I'm like just like you said, like rushing. I don't feel rushed. Like I just feel like I'm doing what I like really live for and enjoy doing. And I just feel like yeah. Anyway, that's maybe a whole nother tangent, but I'm in a good spot. So you're
Good,
safe
good.
talking here and
Okay.
yeah, we're
That's
doing
great
good.
to hear. One kind of related question to that. I
Mhm.
remember we've had discussions before when you were pregnant the first time, and you ran a mile, kind of time trial when you were pregnant with your first child, and then that caused a lot of positive attention and some negative attention as well.
Sure.
And this time you also posted some footage of yourself running while pregnant. Did you notice like a difference kind of in like the social media response to it the second time around?
Um, mm, if any, it's just like it feels like it's getting deeper on both sides, where like people who, are just having a hard time in their lives are just like taking it out on people and like the
Oh,
haters are just like hard, hard, hard.
okay.
And then you have people who are just like, warriors of like standing up for people on Instagram and just like absolutely positive and uplifting. And so I just think it is really deeper on both sides. It's just becoming like more extreme, especially because social media can be like so polarizing.
Well, I'm sorry to hear that, but I guess the maybe the
I
silver
know.
lining is that
Yeah.
there's more positive
There's more
people.
positivity. Yes,
Okay, I'm
totally.
going to choose to look at it that way.
Yeah, let's look at it that way. I'm sorry. That's great.
All right, let's go back to let's get back to the race then. Is there a point when did it start to really hurt? Because I'm imagining you're running a PR, and so at some point it's got to change from you're feeling confident and you're
Yeah.
running your race to like, all right, it's struggling, or was it a Kelvin Kipton kind of thing where you're like, I don't feel pain
Oh,
anymore.
I wish it was Kelvin Gifted. I wish it was a Kelvin Gifted. But I actually, yeah, I don't feel like I ever had to go to a very dark or like
Okay.
hard place,
Oh, wonderful.
which I'm kind of like disappointed about, to be
Okay.
honest.
Okay.
Like,
Tell me more about that.
yeah, so when I said kind of mentioned earlier, I'm not like super proud of this, but I was just kind of scared, and I feel like I was running, like I was running really happy. I was very happy, but I was also running, I think, very nervous and like I wasn't like charging into anything. So you could look at that as being like smart or scared. I don't know. But yeah, I really didn't hurt. I was kind of like hauling my last 2 miles were like my fastest miles by far. where like, but I couldn't like push or like know that limit by myself. And so I'm kind of bummed like I didn't have like someone, that's what I was saying, like for those last 2 laps. I feel like there was a lot left and like a lot there that I need to like understand about how to like push in the marathon without bonking.
Okay. I mean, like if I could say, like commenting it from, from my perspective as, I guess, like just a fan of the sport and a very, 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 very amateur analyst, I just feel like it's the safe run race to run. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Because like, even if you ran 2 minutes faster, that'd be great, but it
Yeah.
doesn't get you any more qualified for the trials, and that's kind of, I'm assuming that's the big goal.
Totally.
Right.
And that was like kind of
So,
my mindset when I started to like be like, okay, at 20 miles, I'm like, should I go? I was like, it doesn't really matter. Like, I'm not going to hit the A standard. And like, I guess I'll just kind of like be comfy right here.
okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. And so what did you race with on over the weekend? What shoes were you in?
Come on. Can you guess what shoes I ran in?
I think you ran in the Sky Plus.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Did you? Okay.
I mean, so they did just send out a new pair that it was kind of like for the Paris pair.
Okay.
But yeah, it's the Sky Plus, and
Okay.
yeah, I just feel like you can't lose that shoe. It's a really good shoe.
I mean, I ran my fastest marathon in it, so
Oh,
you ran
nice.
your fastest marathon in it.
True.
So I feel like, it's a shoe that's working.
In it.
Okay. Speaking of the shoes, can we go back into kind of your training and your build up for this marathon? Like, can you walk us through like what the shoe rotation would have been like for you on like an average like week or however long your kind of like average cycle would have been?
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. So I do like a 6-day cycle.
Okay.
And let's see, like I go between like the Kayano and the Nimbus for easy days.
Okay.
But like I mentioned, we're on Flagstaff, and I actually have been like using the Trabuco Max for going out on like if it's like a really dusty trail, like a little more wobble. I'll get on the trail shoes. I really like the trail shoes as of late. ASICS has really been nailing like all their latest versions. I'm like, I can't pick which one I want to wear.
Nice.
But sorry, anyway. So yeah, like I would go out on like a 60 to 70 minute run in the morning. And then in the PM, I usually grab like the Cumulus or like the Dynablast, which are like a little lighter of a shoe for like less mileage. And so like an easy 30 minutes. And then on workout day, I actually have been like trying to stay out of the super shoes a bit more. I know some people like professionals who stay in the super shoe all the time. So I really think it's just like has to do with like your build, maybe your like mechanics. And I think I feel stronger and better when I stay, which is hard because you kind of have to like take a hit mentally on paces and be like, the effort's there. It's okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, I usually go between like oh my gosh, I was just gonna call it the hyperspeed, but it's
Magic speed?
Is it the hyper
Magic speed? There is
No.
a hyper speed. Then there's hyperspeed, magic speed, and then meta speeds.
No carbon plate.
Okay, then that's hyperspeed.
Yeah, okay, that is the
Okay.
hyperspeed. It sounded wrong for a
yeah,
second. Yeah. So
Okay,
I usually
interesting.
I go into that or in the DS,
Okay.
which is like like the OG original.
Yeah. You know what's interesting is like both like the Dynablast, the DS Trainer,
Yeah.
and like the Hyperspeed. The only people that I've ever met that like those shoes are pros. It's like
Oh,
normal,
really?
like normal people like me. We were just like, no. Give me the more cushion, squishy Nimbus. And it's
Well,
just like only the pros seem to like those. I don't know what it is.
How much mileage are you doing?
Well, on a good week, in heavy training, like cycles, I'll get to maybe 75 to 80.
Oh, nice.
So
Yeah.
that's as high as I'll go. So
Yeah.
but usually around like high 60s, low 70s is where I'm kind of at for marathon training. So
Right.
I'm hoping
And
to
you
increase
still like
that,
the
but-
Kush, like a lot more Kush.
I mean, the Nova Blast is like my go-to. Like, so
Okay,
like
nice.
that's one where I'll spend a lot of time in that one. And then Nimbus will be more for like, if I just want to kind of get out there and just turn the legs over like very slowly, just move a little
Yeah.
bit. You know,
Yeah.
that's when I'll get into that. I don't love the stability shoes, so like the DS Trainer and the Kayanos, I
Yeah.
don't tend to agree with those as
Yeah.
much. But I do find that like a lot of pros seem to like that, and I think you're right. Your intuition is right to ask about mileage, because I think when you were running a lot more mileage, I think that you get like the pros seem to like a little bit of stability sometimes
Yeah.
with some of those runs.
Yeah. Well, it's not just the stability. Maybe it's like to feel a little bit faster. You're so light. Like you're
All
just
right. Okay.
like you can't
Okay.
be jogging so much. I don't know.
Okay. Okay.
Um, but yeah, so I usually go between that. I mean, this will be like for 1Ks, for shorter tempos. And then maybe like I'll break out the like magic speed or, meta speed edge or sky, kind of depending on the breakup, like, of anything that I'm doing, like, 10 plus miles of work. Or like kind of like a long run with like intermittent stuff. And then you kind of recover a little bit better from the give in that shoe. And yeah, I'm trying to think like what other shoes I would like cycle through. But yeah,
That's a pretty wide variety. Most
yeah,
pros that I ask the question, there's like three,
I stick.
and they're like, those
Really,
are the three that I like, and I'm like,
I'm
okay, cool.
yeah, I'm constantly cycling actually
Okay.
because I do like the Super Blast shoes for long runs or just like even for warming up for workouts. I'll use them just to feel like kind of perkier because they give it like a little more bounce. But they're still like a trainer, so big fan of those.
You know what's funny? When I interviewed Elkanah Kabet, he was
Yeah.
like, the Super Blast is my favorite shoe. It's the
Really?
only shoe I run, other than race day, it's the only shoe that I like.
It's because you feel fast.
He's like,
'Cause it feels
every
faster.
time I order a new shoe, it's just another one, and I always hope there's a new color. And I'm like, that's amazing.
That's amazing. I love that. That's awesome.
So you mentioned the move to Flagstaff. When did that happen during this training block?
Yes. Yeah. So I was like a little bit having to move with a newborn,
Yeah.
and in the middle of marathon training
So
was fun.
just making it as complicated as possible.
Yeah, totally.
Marathon training block, trying to hit that OTQ time.
Yeah.
Very young newborn,
Yeah.
and your oldest is still not that old. And then a move.
Yeah, it's great. It's great.
How did
No,
you-
we
how did-
love him. It's good.
How did you figure all that out?
I mean, my husband is so helpful and he gets so much done. He's very, very good at getting stuff done. I'm like, dang it, you got everything done without me. Let me do something. No, but I mean, we managed it. You just do it. I mean, it's like with little kids, because you have your kids. Like, it's craziness, but then you just make it happen and you just like work hour by hour and get it done. And Mike and I over the years have gotten like really good. And like the quality might not always be there, but like at managing my runs between like kids and things that we have to do, whether that's like, like running on the road, running to the place or event like that we're trying to get to. Yeah, we're like really good at handoffs.
Yeah, but it also seems like they're also really good bike pacers for you too. I mean,
Yeah.
whenever I see those videos, that always makes me smile. I love to see
I
that.
know, it's my favorite. Like, seriously, I'm always trying to get him to come out because sometimes it's hard, especially with the news. I don't know if you've seen, like, he'll have Wakefield on his back and then Lou's riding on the seat. It's pretty great.
Yeah, I mean, I always loved when my kids were small enough to put in like the carriers. I just loved
Yeah.
having them like on my person. They didn't like it for very long for whatever reason, but
Oh,
I always
interesting.
loved it. And then whenever I see other parents, especially dads, doing it, I'm like, dude, soak it up. It's good. It goes away fast, but
Yeah.
enjoy it.
So true. It's awesome.
All right, let's switch gears really quick. And now, well, I guess not too much forward. Let's talk about now first. You're recovering now from the race. How much time do you anticipate taking off before whatever it is that you're going to start building for next?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I'm being coached by Ryan Hall right now, and he kind of is just he's giving me maybe like a week or two to kind of think about things and figure it out, and then I think by the end of this week we'll really like talk about what we're planning for next. But right now, I feel like I'm really good at extremes actually. Like I love the grind, but I also love resting. Like I
Okay.
love this like time that I just get to like not be running
All right. Good.
and not be it's honestly maybe it's more just like having to schedule with my husband. Like I don't really have to do that right now. I just get to like take care of the kids. But yeah, I'll take like a week or two and then I'll build back up because we got 3.5 months to the trials and I would really like to get like my half speed up because I did feel kind of like underprepared in that sense going into this marathon because like we just didn't have time and it was like, okay, we just need to get the standard so then we can like get training for the trials. And yeah, I don't feel like I'm not in like 108, 109 shape. Like, and I think that will help a lot to kind of get that speed up for the marathon.
So 3.5 months till the trials, which is a really short amount of time, but also long enough to maybe put in some sort of shorter race in there. Is that something that you guys are thinking about eyeing, or you'll talk about it maybe next week or so?
Yeah, I guess we'll talk about it next week. But on my mind, yeah, like I would love to jump in a half before, and then maybe even use like some other races for workouts.
Okay.
Because I just love the race scene. It's just fun to be around people, who are setting up for races, even if you're using it as a workout.
And you mentioned that you're being coached by Ryan Hall now. When did that start?
So that's actually a funny story. I called him, a couple months after I was pregnant with Wakefield. And I was kind of calling him initially to be like, after I have this kid, like, can you start coaching me? And he was like, no, like, let's start now. Like, we need to start now.
That sounds like a Ryan Hall approach. Like,
Yeah,
why
I
wait?
was like, okay.
What are you doing tomorrow?
Yeah, I was like, okay, they're starting now, which is actually like a huge blessing because I was totally going into that pregnancy like way more relaxed than with Lou, and I was like, I'm just gonna do whatever, and maybe like even like fall out of like fitness a little bit, like to maybe like take a break, and I wasn't like feeling super great. Do you know what I mean? Like when you want something but you're doing something else. Like I was like, I want to be fit, but I was just like wasn't trying because like no one was telling me what to do, and so it was really helpful having Ryan kind of like structure something for me.
Okay. And I know I talked to Rory Linkletter after Budapest, and he was mentioning before the Olympics, he'd like to run a lot faster, some shorter, faster distances as well. Is there any room for any kind of working together? Because I think now all you guys are in Flagstaff now, aren't you?
Yes, totally. And we're really close with Rory and his wife. Like they're great. But I don't think I'll be on quite like there on that same schedule because he's not doing actually, I don't know. Do you know if he's doing if there's like a Canadian?
No, they don't have a trials like they do
Right.
for the U.S. So like
But he doesn't have to do another marathon before.
I think only if someone else runs really fast in like the
Yeah.
next couple of months. So like
Yeah.
I think from what I gathered when I spoke with him, it was more like he wants to focus more on like building some 5K speed at this point.
Totally.
So that way he can become stronger,
Yeah.
that way, which is I think similar to what you're saying. And since you guys both had the same coach, it
Would
maybe
make sense.
put the connection together.
Yeah, I mean, like honestly, it probably would if the trials weren't February 3rd. But I think Rory will be doing like 5K speed, like indoor and maybe outdoor. But I bet he'll be, gearing towards that a little bit differently
Okay.
without having a marathon on February 3rd.
So then for you then, as you're looking for those next few months, like, do you think there needs to be a lot of tweaks to the plan? I mean, I guess I'd like I guess the prefix to all these questions is you still haven't really had to sit down with your coach yet, but like,
I know, yeah.
what are your kind of your gut feelings so far in terms of like, all right, based on what you think maybe you need to build on for the future, like, are there going to be a lot of changes, or it's like you need to get another solid build, whatever Ryan cooks up
Yeah.
in
I mean,
his
like,
mental lab,
yeah. Right. Based off of kind of like what happened after the first baby, it's been really different because I was kind of doing like more 5K, 10K training with Lou before it like built into marathon training for like a year later, right? And this was like straight into marathon training. So So yes, I feel like there's going to be quite a bit difference, especially because there's more of like a long game happening. It was like such a short build, and then like a really extended taper, which wasn't quite ideal. So I think that like this build, at least for me going in, like one thing to mention is I think I'm going to try and get a little more childcare. That will definitely help me. But on running terms, yeah, I'm looking to kind of have like a little bit longer of mornings because I was kind of doing a lot of 60-minute mornings, which I think people start like, or not, I start thriving off of more like 70 plus, but not obviously not like 90-minute mornings on the easy days. I just start doing a lot better with like 70, 75 minutes. And then, which I think is, that sounds like it's not important. I don't know what your opinion is on that, but I feel like that's really important for me. But other than that, yeah, I don't know. I guess it'll be kind of a surprise on the build of like what else Ryan has to throw at me.
Okay. I mean, I think that like being able to get just 15 more minutes, like the difference between 60 and 75 minutes to me makes a huge deal. 60 minutes is for me, it's just kind of like,
Yeah.
I got to run today, but I didn't really get to run. You
Yes.
know, like I feel
Totally.
like it just seems a little short. And so like
Yeah.
75 is like a good number. I usually like to
Yeah.
get like for me, if I can get like 80 minutes in the morning, 80 to, like an hour 20 to like an hour 30, it's just, I like that for easy runs.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cause I don't usually double. And so like, that's my
Yeah.
run for the day. So I'm like, that I like that.
Yeah, totally. And then, I mean, on terms of like long, as in like the week, I think I need to get a bit higher. I only like touched 100 like twice before this
Okay.
marathon. And I think I'm definitely more of like a high mileage girl where I start thriving above like, and it was crazy. Like during that like 90, 95 to like 100, like things just really started clicking for me. Like
Oh,
I was like
okay.
feeling better. You think you would feel more tired, but it was like I was like living higher. It's great.
Nice. And the adjustment to the altitude wasn't tough for you?
Oh no, it was very tough. Yeah, no. I always joke with everybody that like I have like a big conversion rate because like
Okay.
there's people that are just like hauling on Lake Mary and I was like my thresholds are just not very fast up here and I'm okay with that. Like I'm like very worried about effort level up here and let it translate on its own. So
All right. Well, it seems like whatever conversion rate you're using is working because you had a fantastic race, and I think that shows that there's so much upside to come.
yeah.
To give you like yourself like a more time in the build, and then you'll be that much more acclimated to the altitude. And I mean, you already have experience coming down from altitude to race at sea level, so
Yeah.
I mean, it's exciting. I'm very excited for you.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to it too. There's always more to learn. It's fun.
Very cool. So I'm excited. Hopefully we can touch base again before the trials once you get more of this next build under your belt. Because I know everyone here is going to be super excited to see how you're progressing and to cheer for you on that big day.
Thanks. Thanks, Kabusi. It's been good talking. I
All right.
like breaking it down.
All right. Thanks for the breakdown. And I'll post links in the description and everywhere so people can follow along more directly with you on Instagram and see everything, especially pictures of your family on the bike pacing you around the track. 'Cause those are my favorite.
It's so great.
All right. Thanks so much for your time, McKenna.
Okay. Thanks, Kabusi.